The alarm bells rang through Earth Defense Command at exactly 14:47 Universal Time. Admiral Park. Daho was drinking his morning coffee when the red lights started flashing on every screen in the building. "Sir, we're getting an emergency transmission," said Lieutenant Kim Sora, running into his office. Her face was pale. It's coming from every Galactic Coalition channel at once. Park set down his coffee cup. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen Kim look scared. "What kind of transmission? You need to see this, sir?"
"Air."
Broadcasting it to every planet in known space. The main screen in the command center showed the symbol of the Veilthan Empire. Park knew that symbol well. 3 silver claws on a black background. The Veilthans were one of the most powerful races in the galaxy. They controlled over 200 worlds and had the biggest military fleet anyone had ever seen. The symbol faded away. What came next made Park's blood turn cold. The camera showed a massive field on a human colony world. Thousands of people were kneeling in long rows. Men, women, children, elderly people. All of them had their hands tied behind their backs. Of them were human. A tall figure walked into view. The creature stood over 8 feet tall with gray skin and 4 arms. Its face looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect. This was Supreme Commander Velthar, leader of the Veilthan military. "Citizens of the galaxy," Velthar said in perfect universal standard. His voice was cold and calm. "Today, you witness the solution to a growing problem. The human species has spread across our galaxy like a disease. They take our resources. They crowd our space. They breed too quickly and ask for too much." The camera moved slowly over the rows of kneeling humans. Park could see children as young as 5 years old. He could see mothers holding babies. Could see old men and women who could barely sit up straight. The human colony of New Busan had 9 million inhabitants, Velthor continued. They were warned to leave our space. They refused. They said they had rights. They said the Galactic Coalition would protect them. Velthor laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. Where is the Coalition now? Where is Earth? Now, I will show the galaxy what happens to pests who refuse to leave when told. Park felt sick. New Busan was one of humanity's oldest colonies. Families had been living there for over 50 years. They had farms, schools, hospitals. Commander whispered Kim Sora. "Should we try to contact the Coalition?" Park shook his head. "Keep watching. We need to see all of it." On the screen, hundreds of Veilthan soldiers raised their weapons. The humans in the field did not cry or scream. Some of them were praying. Some of them were holding hands with the people next to them. A few were singing an old Earth song that Park remembered from his childhood. "This is not murder," said Velthar. "This is pest control. Humans are not people. They are animals. Smart animals, but animals. You do not negotiate with insects. You remove them." The weapons fired. The sound was like thunder that went on forever. Blue energy beams cut through the air. Row after row of humans fell forward into the dirt. The singing stopped. The praying stopped. Everything stopped. But the broadcast did not stop. For the next 2 hours, the cameras showed everything. They showed the bodies being loaded into massive trucks. They showed the empty houses and schools. They showed Veilthan soldiers taking anything valuable and burning the rest. In the Earth Defense Command Center, nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Junior officers who had never seen real combat were crying. Finally, Velthor appeared on screen again. Behind him, Smoke rose from what had once been New Bazan's capital city. "Let this be a lesson to all humans in the galaxy," he said. "You have 7 days to leave any world that belongs to the Veilthan Empire. After that, you will join your friends. Here, we have already sent our fleets to 12 other human colonies. They are waiting for my orders." The screen showed a star map. Red dots marked human colonies throughout Veilthan space. Each red dot represented millions of human lives. To the other races of the galaxy, do not interfere. Humans are not your problem anymore. To the government of Earth, we suggest you focus. On your own planet, tell your colonies to run. We enjoy the hunt. The transmission ended. The room fell into complete silence. Park stood up slowly. His hands were shaking. In all his years as a soldier, he had seen many terrible things, but nothing like this. This was not war. This was not even conquest. This was the planned murder of an entire species, sir, said Kim Sora quietly. What are your orders? Before Park could answer, another officer ran into the room. It was Colonel Lee Taman from the Colonial Defense Corps. But something was wrong. Lee's uniform was torn and covered in dirt. He had burns on his face and arms. Lee Park stared at him. What are you doing here? You're supposed to be on New Busan. Lee fell into a chair. His breathing was heavy and fast. I was on New Busan. I was visiting my sister and her family. When the Veilthan ships arrived, I was in the mountains checking the communication towers. You were there? Kim Sora moved closer to him. You saw it happen? Lee nodded. I saw it all, sir. They rounded up everyone in the cities first. Then they went to the farms. Then the small towns. It took them 3 days to gather all 9 million people into that field. He looked up at Park. His eyes were red from crying and smoke. Sir, they made the children watch their parents die first. They made the parents watch their children die. They wanted it to hurt as much as possible. Park felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. It was not fear. It was not sadness. It was anger. But it was more than anger. It was a decision. Lee, how did you escape? Stole a cargo ship, sir. Flew through 3 different star systems to get here. The Veilthans didn't even try to stop me. They wanted someone to survive. They wanted someone to tell Earth what happened. Park walked to the big window that looked out over Earth Defense Command. He could see hundreds of officers and soldiers going about their daily work. Most of them did not know yet what had happened. Most of them still thought humans were safe under Coalition protection. Sir Kim Sora was standing behind him. The President is calling. She wants to know if we're going to ask the Coalition for help. Park turned around. Get me a secure line to President Choi, and get me Director Yoon from the Special Projects Division? What should I tell them, sir? Park looked at the blank screen where 9 million humans had died just for being human. He thought about the children, thought about the families. He thought about the 12 other colonies that were waiting to die. Tell them we're done asking for help, he said. Tell them it's time to give some. In the depths of Earth's Defense Command, deep underground where the Coalition inspectors were never allowed to go, lights began turning on in rooms that had been dark for 20 years. Men and women in black uniforms started opening sealed files and checking weapons that were not supposed to exist. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans. When you kill their families, when you call them animals, when you broadcast their deaths like entertainment, you do not get to make the rules anymore. You get to face the consequences. President Choi Yoon-ji stood in the secure meeting room deep beneath the Earth government building. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth, but their faces showed the same shock and anger that every human felt. 9 million people, she said quietly. They killed 9 million of our people and broadcast it like a sports game. Admiral Park Dae-ho placed a data pad on the table. Madam President, we have confirmed reports from 12 other human colonies. Veilthan fleets are surrounding them right now. They're waiting for orders to do the same thing they did to New Busan. How many people are we talking about? Asked Intelligence Director Kim So-Ra. Double quotes 40-3 million humans, Madam President. 43 million people who will die unless we act. President Choi closed her eyes. Oh. When she opened them again, her voice was different, harder. What does the Galactic Coalition say? Nothing, said Kim Sora. Complete silence. We sent emergency requests for help 6 hours ago. No response from any coalition member. They're scared, said Foreign Minister Nam Yujin. The Veilthans control too much territory and have too many ships. No one wants to make them angry. President Choi stood up and walked to the wall screen. It showed a map of human space. Red warning markers covered dozens of worlds. So we're alone. Yes, Madam President. She turned back to the table. Director Yoon, is your team ready? A thin man with gray hair nodded. Director Yoon Jae-sung had been quiet during the whole meeting. He ran the Special Projects Division, a department that officially did not exist. We've been ready for 20 years, Madam President. We just hoped we would never need to use any of it. Use what? Nam Yujin. What are you talking about? President Choi sat down again. When humans first joined the Galactic Coalition 30 years ago, we were told we had to limit our military, no big warships, no advanced weapons, no secret research. We agreed to all of it. She smiled, but it was not a happy smile. We lied. Director Yoon pressed a button on his datapad. The wall screen changed to show technical drawings of spaceships. But these were not the small patrol boats and cargo ships that the Coalition knew about. These were massive warships with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. For 20 years, we have been building ships in secret, Yoon said. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt. Underground factories on Mars. Orbital platforms disguised as mining stations. Nam Yujin stared at the screen. How many ships? 800 cruisers. 2,000 fighters. All of them equipped with technology the Coalition has never seen. Admiral Park leaned forward. What kind of technology? Engineer Han Minji, who had been silent until now, spoke up. She was young. Maybe 30 years old, but her eyes held the look of someone who had seen too much. Quantum disruption weapons, she said. They can shut down any energy shield or faster-than-light drive. Phase torpedoes that pass through normal armor like it doesn't exist. Adaptive artificial intelligence that learns from every battle. The Veilthans think they know how humans fight, said Director Yoon. They studied our history. They know about our old wars on Earth. They think we're predictable, are we? Asked President Choi. No, Madam President. Human tactics have changed. We learned from every alien race in the Coalition. We studied every war, every battle, every mistake, and we made something new. The screen showed a video of a space battle. Human ships moved in patterns that looked like chaos, but there was order in it. They attacked from impossible angles, disappeared when the enemy fired back, and struck again from somewhere else. Swarm tactics combined with stealth technology, explained Admiral Park. Our ships are smaller and faster than Veilthan. Warships, but they work together like a pack of wolves. President Choi nodded slowly. How long to get our fleets ready? They're already ready, Madam President. We just need to give the order. And our people in the colonies, the ones who are about to die. Colonel Lee Taemin, who had been listening, quietly stood up. His face still showed the burns from his escape from New Busan. Madam President, I've been in contact with resistance cells on all 12 worlds. We have weapons hidden there. Not many, but enough to buy time. What kind of weapons? Engineer Han answered. Portable quantum disruptors. They can take out Veilthan ground vehicles and small ships. We've been smuggling them to human colonies for years, disguised as farming equipment and medical supplies. Kim. Sora looked surprised. How long has this been going on? Since the day we joined the Coalition, said Director Yoon. We hoped we would never need any of it. We hoped the Coalition would protect us. We hoped wrong. President Choi was quiet. For a long moment, everyone in the room could hear the air recycling systems humming in the walls. Finally, she spoke. The Veilthans called us animals. They said we were pests that needed to be removed. They think killing 9 million humans will make the rest of us run away and hide. She stood up again and looked at each person around the table. They don't know humans very well, do they? Admiral Park smiled. It was not a nice smile. No, Madam President, they don't. Director Yoon, how quickly can we move our fleets? Our ships have been in position for 3 days, Madam President. We knew this was coming. The Veilthans are not as quiet as they think they are. Colonel Lee, can your resistance cells hold out long enough for our fleets to arrive? Yes, Madam President. We've been preparing for this for years. The Veilthans will find that human colonies are much harder to break than they expect. President Choi walked to the window. Far above them, she could see the lights of Earth's cities. Millions of humans going about their normal lives, not knowing that their species was at war. Madame President, said Nam Yujin carefully, if we do this, there's no going back. The coalition will never trust us again. We'll be alone in the galaxy. We're already alone, she replied. The coalition watched 9 million humans die, and said nothing. They're watching 43 million more prepare to die and doing nothing. She turned back to face the room. At least when we're alone, we can fight back. What are your orders, Madam President? Asked Admiral Park Brez. President Choi's voice was steady and cold. Signal all fleet commanders. Operation Payback is now active. Signal all colony resistance cells. Help is coming. Signal the Galactic Coalition. Should we tell the Coalition? Tell them that Earth formally withdraws from all treaties and agreements? Tell them that any attempt to interfere will be considered an act of war. The veil thins. President Choi smiled again. Was much worse than the first smile. Don't tell the Veilthans anything. Let them find out the hard way. Deep in space, hidden among asteroids and behind false sensor readings, 300 human warships began to move. Their crews had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. They had trained in secret, planned in secret, and built there. Weapons in secret. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do when someone made them truly angry. The Veilthans were about to learn that calling humans animals was a very big mistake. Animals, after all, could be much more dangerous than people when their families were threatened. Commander Osunho checked his equipment one last time. Round him, 49 other human soldiers did the same thing. They were the best fighters Earth had ever trained, and today they were going to need every bit of that training. 2 minutes to drop point, said the pilot's voice over the comm system. Weather on the surface looks good, clear skies and light wind. O looked at his team. Half of them were veterans from Earth-sold conflicts. The other half were younger. Soldiers who had trained their whole lives for this moment. All of them knew they might not come home. Remember the mission? O said quietly. We hit the command center, destroy their communications, and get out. We are not trying to win the war today. We are trying to save 43 million people, sir, said Sergeant Lim Dayun. What if the Veilthans have more troops than we expected? Then we adapt. Humans are good at adapting. The ship shook as it entered the atmosphere of Veilthan. Military Base Kappa 7. This was one of 12 bases that the human fleet was hitting at the same time. If everything went according to plan, the Veilthans would lose their ability to coordinate their attacks on human colonies. If things went wrong, if 50% of Earth's best soldiers would die on an alien world whose name they could not even pronounce. 80 seconds, said the pilot. O activated his helmet display. It showed him the positions of his team, the layout of the enemy base, and the locations of their targets. Everything looked exactly like the intelligence reports had predicted. Maybe this would work after all. Go, go, go. The soldiers dropped through the bottom of their stealth ship like falling stars. Their armor was matte black and absorbed radar. Signals their weapons were designed to be completely silent. The Veilthans would not know they were under attack until it was too late. O landed in the shadow of a large building and immediately rolled behind cover. His helmet display showed him that all 50 soldiers had landed safely and were moving toward their targets. So far, so good. The Veilthan base was huge. Thousands of alien soldiers lived and worked here. Their job was to coordinate attacks on human worlds and make sure no humans escaped the genocide. After today, they would not be coordinating anything. O moved quickly through the shadows between buildings. His target was the main communications center, a tall tower in the middle of the base. If he could plant his quantum charges there, the Veilthans would be cut off from their fleets. Team 2 in position, whispered Sergeant Lim over the comm. Her job was to destroy the base's power generators. Team 3 ready, said Corporal Kung Hojin. He was supposed to take out the vehicle repair bays so the Veilthans could not send help to other bases. Team 4 standing by, reported Private SEO Wu Jin. She was the youngest member of the strike force, but she had the most important job. She had to hack into the Veilthan computer systems and steal their attack plans. O reached the communications tower. 2 Veilthan guards stood at the entrance. They were tall and gray-skinned, with forearms and weapons that could burn through human armor, but they were not expecting an attack. O moved like a shadow. His knife found the first guard's throat before the alien even knew he was there. The second guard turned toward the noise, but O's second knife was already flying through the air. Both guards fell without making a sound. Tower secured, O whispered into his cum. Beginning demolition. He planted the quantum charges carefully around the base of the tower. These were not normal explosives. When they went off, they would create a small disruption in space-time that would destroy everything within 100 meters. All teams, sound off, he said. Team 2, generators destroyed, moving to secondary targets. Team 3, vehicle bays offline. They won't be driving anywhere. Team 4, I'm in their computer system. Sir, you need to see this. O frowned. What is it, SEO? They have attack plans for more than just the 12 colonies we knew about. Sir, they're planning to hit Earth directly, tomorrow. O felt his blood turn cold. What? 50 Veilthan battleships are already on their way to Earth. They plan to destroy our orbital defenses and then land ground troops in major cities. Send everything to command immediately. How long do we have? The attack fleet will reach Earth in 18 hours. O started running toward the extraction point. Around him, the other teams were doing the same thing. Their mission was complete, but now they had learned something that changed everything. All teams, emergency extraction, move now. As they ran, the quantum charges went off. The communications tower disappeared in a flash of blue light. The power generators exploded. Vehicle bays collapsed. In less than 10 minutes, the most important Veilthan military base in this sector had been completely destroyed. But it might not matter. If 50 Veilthan battleships attacked Earth directly, the human homeworld could be destroyed before their own fleets could respond. O reached the extraction point just as their stealth ship landed. All 50 soldiers made it aboard, along with the stolen Veilthan data. Did we get it all? Asked the pilot as they lifted off. Yes, but we also got something we didn't want. Signal Admiral Park immediately. Priority 1. As their ship climbed toward space, O looked down at the burning Veilthan base. 11 other bases throughout the sector were probably burning too. The human strike teams had done their jobs perfectly. But would it be enough? 2 hours later, O stood in the briefing room of the human battleship Inchin. Admiral Park was there, along with Captain Chen Minsu and intelligence officer Quan Haijin. Show me what you found, said Admiral Park. Private SEO activated the holographic display. It showed the positions of Veilthan fleets throughout the galaxy. Red dots marked human colonies under threat. But the biggest red dot was moving straight toward Earth. 50 battleships, said Captain Chen. That's more firepower than we've ever faced before. Can we stop them? Asked Admiral Park. Quan Haijin, the cyber warfare specialist, smiled. Sir, Private SEO didn't just steal their attack plans. She also planted a little surprise in their computer systems. What kind of surprise? A virus that will activate when their ships try to attack Earth. It will turn their own weapons against them. O felt hope rising in his chest. Will it work? We're about to find out, said Admiral Park. All human fleets are moving to intercept. This is it, people. If we win, we save Earth and 43 million colonists. If we lose, did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. On the main screen, they could see the human fleet moving through space. 300 battleships, 800 cruisers, and 2,000 fighters. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. In 18 hours, they would meet the Veilthan attack fleet somewhere between Earth and Mars. The battle would decide whether humans continued to exist as a free species, or whether they joined the 9 million dead on Nubus, and Commander Una checked his weapons one more time. The ground mission was over, But the real fight was just beginning. "Sir," said Private SEO quietly, "do you think we can win?" Oh, looked at her young face. She was barely 20 years old. But she had already struck a blow against humanity's enemies that would be remembered forever. "I think," he said slowly, "that the Veilthans are about to learn why you should never try to exterminate a species that has spent its entire history fighting wars. Sir, they think they know how humans fight because they've studied our history. But our history is full of times when we were outnumbered and still won. We're very good at winning when we should lose." On the screen, human fleet continued moving toward the battle that would determine the fate of their species. The Veilthans had broadcast the death of 9 million humans to show the galaxy their power. Tomorrow, humanity would broadcast something back. The galaxy was about to see what happened when you made humans truly angry. Captain Chen Minsu stood on the bridge of the U.S. Incheon, humanity's newest and most powerful battleship. Through the main window, he could see the Veilthan attack fleet approaching Earth. 50 massive warships, each one 3 times larger than any human vessel. "Distance to target?" he asked. 2 million kilometers in closing," reported Navigation Officer Park Ji-hoon. "They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Any response to our surrender demands?" Communications Officer Baek Junho shook his head. "Nothing, sir. They're not even acknowledging our signals." Chen smiled grimly. "Good. I would have been disappointed if they had been smart enough to surrender." Around the Incheon, the entire human fleet was spread out in a formation that looked random to anyone watching. But there was a pattern to it, a plan that the Veilthans would not understand until it was too late. "Sir," said Intelligence Officer Quan Hai-jin, "I'm picking up chatter from the Veilthan ships. They're laughing at us. Laughing, they think our fleet is pathetic. One of their commanders just said that destroying us will be easier than what they did to New Busan." Chen's smile became much colder. "Patch me through to all human ships." "Channel open, sir," says Captain Chen to all vessels. "You heard what?" They said, "They think killing us will be easy. They think we're weak because our ships are smaller than theirs." He paused and looked out at the enemy fleet. "Let's show them why humans have survived every war we've ever fought. All units execute plan payback. For New Busan, for our families, for humanity." The response came from 300 human ships at once. For humanity. The human fleet suddenly changed formation. What had looked like a disorganized group of ships became a coordinated swarm. Smaller vessels darted between the larger ones, creating a pattern that was beautiful and deadly at the same time. "Veilthan fleet is opening fire," reported Weapons Officer Song Ha-young. The space between the two fleets lit up with energy beams and missiles. The Veilthan weapons were powerful enough to destroy a human ship with one hit. But they had to hit. First, the human ships moved like dancers, spinning and weaving around the incoming fire. Their adaptive AI systems analyzed every enemy shot and calculated the best way to avoid it. Where one ship could not dodge, another moved to protect it with advanced shielding. "Return fire," ordered Chen. The human weapons were different from anything the Veilthans had ever faced. Quantum torpedoes that could pass through energy shields, disruption beams that shut down enemy systems, smart missiles that learned from each battle and became harder to stop. The first Veilthan ship exploded in a ball of blue fire, then the second, then the third. "Sir, their fleet commander is signaling us," said Baek Junho. "Put him on screen." Main display showed a Veilthan officer with elaborate markings on his gray skin. His forearms were gesturing angrily, and his insect-like eyes were wide with surprise. "Humans," he snarled, "you have broken coalition law. These weapons are forbidden." Chen stood up from his command chair. "Admiral Velkoth, I presume. You're no longer members of the coalition. We withdrew after you murdered 9 million of our people." "Those were not people. They were animals. Pests." "And what does that make you, Admiral?" "You're losing a battle against pests." Velkoth, his face twisted with rage. "Impossible. Your ships are too small. Your weapons are too weak. We studied your primitive human wars. Yes, you've studied our history. But you made one mistake, Admiral. What mistake? Chen smiled. You assumed we stopped learning new ways to fight. On the tactical display, more veil-thin ships were exploding. The human fleet was cutting through them like a knife through paper. What had started as 50 against 300 was quickly becoming 30 against 300, but the real surprise was still coming. Quan, activate the virus, ordered Chen. Virus activated, sir. Suddenly, the remaining veil-thin ships began firing on each other. Their own weapons turned against them, as the computer virus that Private SEO had planted took control of their systems. What is happening? Screamed Velkoth. My ships are destroying each other. That's what happens when you attack humans, Admiral. We fight back in ways you never expect. Within minutes, the mighty veil-thin attack fleet was reduced to burning. Wreckage, only Velkoth's flagship remained, and it was surrounded by a dozen human ships. Surrender, Admiral, said Chen. You've lost? Never. The veil-thin empire does not surrender to animals? Then you can join your ships. The human vessels opened fire at the same time. Velkoth's flagship disappeared in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. All enemy ships destroyed, reported Song Ai-young. No human casualties. The bridge crew cheered, but Chen held up his hand for silence. This was just the beginning. Signal all fleets. 2 is now active. We're taking the fight to them. Over. The next 3 days, human fleets struck veiled-in positions throughout the galaxy. They did not fight like the old Earth armies that the veiled-ins had studied. They fought like something new, something that had learned from every species in the galaxy and combined all of that knowledge into a new way of war. On Veil-thin Prime. Supreme Commander Veilthar watched the reports with growing horror. 12 military bases destroyed, 3 major fleets eliminated, 47 worlds under human attack. How is this possible? He demanded. Our intelligence said humans had no military capability, sir, said his aide nervously. It appears they were hiding their true strength. Our estimates were completely wrong. They are primitives. They only joined the galaxy 30 years ago. Sir, perhaps we should consider negotiating. Velthor struck his aide with one of his forearms, sending the smaller alien flying across the room. We do not negotiate with animals. Signal all remaining fleets. Full attack on every human world. If we cannot defeat their military, we will destroy their civilians. But when the orders went out, something strange happened. Many veil-thin commanders refused to obey. Others found their ships surrounded by human vessels before they could attack. A few switched sides entirely, joining the growing rebellion against Velthar's rule. The galaxy was watching. What had started as genocide against humans had become something much bigger. Other species that had been oppressed by the Veilthans began to fight back. The mighty empire that had controlled hundreds of worlds for centuries was falling apart, and at the center of it all were the humans, the species that the Veilthans had called animals and pests. Dr. Song Ai-young, a human medical officer, was treating rescued prisoners from a Veilthan labor camp when she received an unexpected visitor. It was a Zephyrian, one of the aliens who had been enslaved by the Veilthans for over 50 years. Doctor, the alien said in broken universal, Standard, is it true? Are humans really winning? Yes, said Dr. Song gently. We're winning, but how? Veilthans are so strong. So many ships, so many weapons. Dr. Song thought about how to explain it. We learned something that the Veilthans never understood. Strength is not just about big ships and powerful weapons. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is refuse to give up, even when everyone says you should. The Zephyrian looked confused. I do not understand. The Veilthans thought killing 9 million humans would scare the rest of us into surrender. But humans don't work that way. When someone hurts our families, we don't run away. We fight back. And we keep fighting until justice is done. Justice, Dr. Song nodded. The Veilthans will answer for what they did. Not just to humans, but to every species they have enslaved and murdered. That's what this war is really about. The Zephyrian was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that Dr. Song would remember for the rest of her life. Thank you for not being animals. Thank you for being more human than they are. Back on Earth, Admiral Park Daeho was planning the final phase of the war. The Veilthan Empire was collapsing, but Velthor still controlled their homeworld and their most loyal forces. How many ships does he have left? Park asked. About 200, reported Kim Sora. They're dug in around Veilthan Prime. It won't be easy to root them out. It doesn't need to be easy, said Park. It just needs to be final. The hunt was almost over. Soon the galaxy would see what happened. When someone tried to exterminate humanity, they would see justice. The final battle began at dawn on Veilthan Prime. Marine Sergeant Go Sun-woo watched from his landing craft as hundreds of human ships filled the sky above the enemy capital. This was it. The last stronghold of the Empire that had tried to destroy humanity. 2 minutes to landing, said the pilot. Ground defenses are heavy. This is going to be rough. Go looked at his squad. 25 human soldiers who had volunteered for the most dangerous mission of the war. Their job was to capture Supreme Commander Velthor alive. The galaxy needed to see justice done properly. Remember, Go said to his troops, we want him breathing. Dead martyrs cause more problems than live prisoners. What if he won't surrender? Asked Corporal Yusujin. Then we make the choice for him. The landing craft shook as Veilthan defensive weapons opened fire. Through the small windows, Go could see other human ships being hit. Some of them exploded. Some of them crashed into the ground, trailing smoke and fire, but more kept coming. For every ship that fell, 2 more took its place. The sky was full of human soldiers coming to finish what the Veilthans had started. 30 seconds. Ow, Go checked. His weapon one last time. It was loaded with non-lethal ammunition designed to stop Veilthans without killing them. Today was about justice, not revenge. The landing craft hit the ground hard, and the rear door dropped open. Go led his squad out into the middle of a war zone. Veilthan soldiers were everywhere, firing from buildings and defensive positions. Their weapons could burn through human armor, but the humans had something the Veilthans did not expect. They had help. Aliens from dozens of species were fighting alongside the human troops. Zephyrians, who had been enslaved for 50 years, Korathi, who had watched their worlds burn, Miklin, whose children had been taken for experiments. All of them wanted to see the Veilthan Empire fall. Building secured, shouted someone over the "Come, moving to the next objective." Go led his squad through the streets of the Veilthan capital. The city was massive, built for creatures larger than humans. The buildings towered overhead like metal mountains, and the streets were wide enough to land spaceships on, but the size worked against the defenders. There were too many places for attackers to hide, too many angles of approach. The Veilthans had built their city to show off their power, not to defend it. "Sir, I have eyes on the command center," said Yu Sujin. She was their best sniper and had climbed to the top of a nearby building. "Heavy resistance, but nothing we can't handle." "What about Velthor?" "Thermal scans show him in the main tower, top floor. Looks like he has about 50 guards with him." Go smiled. 50 guards against 25 humans, poor bastards. The assault on the command center took exactly 18 minutes. Human soldiers moved through the building like water, flowing around strong points and striking at weak ones. Their tactics were based on lessons learned from 100 different species and refined through decades of secret training. The Veilthon. Guards fought hard, but they were used to fighting other Veilthans. They were not ready for humans who could think 3 moves ahead and adapt to any situation. Go reached the top floor to find the doors to Velthor's office blown open and his squad standing over a group of surrendered guards. In the center of the room, Supreme Commander Velthor sat behind a massive desk, all 4 of his arms folded in defiance. "Human animals," he said in his cold voice. "You may have won this battle, but you will never rule the galaxy. The races will rise up against you just as you rose up against us." El walked slowly across the room. His weapon was pointed at the floor but ready to rise if needed. "We don't want to rule the galaxy," he said. "We just want justice for 9 million. Murdered people? Justice?" Velthor laughed. "You speak of justice while your fleets burn our worlds. We haven't burned any worlds. We've liberated them. Every planet your empire controlled is now free to choose its own government." Lies. Go activated his cum unit. Show him. Room's main screen lit up with images from across the galaxy. Former Veilthan worlds where the enslaved populations were celebrating their freedom. Prison camps being opened. Families reunited after decades of separation. "This is what justice looks like," said Go. "Not revenge, not conquest. Freedom. Velthar stared at the screen. For the first time since Go had met him, the Supreme Commander looked uncertain. "What do you want from me?" "A trial, in front of the whole galaxy. You will answer for your crimes against every species, not just humans. And if I refuse?" Go's voice was very quiet. "Then you'll be remembered as a coward who couldn't face the consequences of his actions." 1 hour later, Veltor was in custody aboard a human ship. On Veilthan Prime, the last enemy fleets were surrendering. The war was over. But the most important part was just beginning. The trial of Supreme Commander Velthor was broadcast to every world in the galaxy, just as the Veilthans had broadcast the massacre at New Busan, but this time, the message was different. Prosecutor Choi Min-gu, a human lawyer who had spent years documenting Veilthan war crimes, presented evidence that shocked even the most experienced observers. Video recordings of mass executions, testimonies from survivors of labor camps, documents showing the planned genocide of 17 different species. The defendant, said Choi, did not simply commit murder. He committed systematic extermination. On a scale that defies comprehension. 9 million humans at New Busan, 47 million Zephyrians on their homeworld, 62 million Karathi across 12 planets. The numbers went on and on. Hundreds of millions of innocent beings killed, simply because Velthar considered them inferior. But the most powerful moment came when Colonel Lee Taman took the witness stand. The survivor of New Busan had burns on his face that would never fully heal, but his voice was strong and clear. "I watched them kill my sister," he said, looking directly at Velthor. "I watched them kill her children. I watched them kill 9 million people who had done nothing wrong except exist." He paused and took a deep breath. "But this trial is not about revenge. It's about making sure this never happens again. It's about showing the galaxy that genocide has consequences. It's about proving that justice is stronger than hate." Velthor tried to defend himself. He claimed he was protecting the galaxy from inferior species. He said he was following orders from his government. He insisted that what he did was legal under Veilthan law. None of it mattered. The verdict was unanimous. He's guilty on all charges. Guilty of genocide. Guilty of crimes against sentience. He's guilty of starting a war of extermination. The sentence was life imprisonment on a prison planet where he would spend the rest of his days thinking about what he had done. As the trial ended, President Choi Yoon-ji addressed the galaxy from Earth. "Today justice has been served," she said. "But this is not the end. This is the beginning of a new age." Behind her, representatives from over 100 alien species stood together. Former enemies united by their shared experience of oppression and their common desire for freedom. "We are forming a new alliance," President Choi continued. "Not an empire. Not a coalition ruled by the strong. A true partnership where every species has an equal voice." The camera showed the faces of the alien representatives. Zephyrians whose chains had been broken, Skorathe whose worlds had been freed, Miklin whose children had been returned. All of them looking toward a future they had never dared to imagine. "The Galactic Federation will be built on 3 principles," said President Choi. "First, no species is superior to another. Second, genocide in any form will be met with the combined force of all member worlds. Third, freedom is not something you earn. It is something you are born with." Looked directly into the camera. "To those who still believe in the old ways, who think the strong should rule the weak, we have a message for you. We are watching. We are ready. We will not allow another New Busan to happen anywhere in the galaxy." 3 months later, Marine Sergeant Go Seung-woo stood in the memorial garden built on the site where New Busan's capital city had once stood. 9 million names were carved into black stone walls that stretched for kilometers. He was not alone. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species had come to pay their respects. They brought flowers from their homeworlds and sang songs in languages Go did not understand. But he understood the meaning. "Never again, Sergeant Go." He turned to see a young Zephyrian female approaching. She was carrying a small bundle of blue flowers. "Yes. My name is Zara. I was a slave on Veilthan Prime for 20 years. I wanted to thank you." "You don't need to thank me. We were just doing what was right. No, she said softly. You were doing something more than that. You showed the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. She placed her flowers at the base of the memorial wall and walked away. Ko watched her go, then looked back at the names carved in stone. Kim So-jin, age 7. Park Dae-woo, age 34. Lee Min-ho, age 82. Choi Soo-young. 9 million names. 9 million people who had died simply for being human. But their deaths had not been meaningless. It started something that would change the galaxy forever. They had shown the universe that genocide would not be tolerated. They had proved that justice was stronger than hate. Ko placed his own flowers at the memorial and walked away. Above him, ships from a dozen different species patrolled the space around New Busan. The world was being rebuilt. But this time it would be protected. This time, no one would die alone. As he reached his transport, GOSCOM unit buzzed with an incoming message. It was from Earth Defense Command. All Federation forces, said Admiral Park Dae-ho's voice. We have reports of slave raids in the Outer Rim. 3 species are requesting immediate assistance. All available ships are to respond. Go smiled and started walking toward his ship. The war against the Veilthans was over, but the fight for justice would continue. There were still oppressors in the galaxy, still those who believed might made. Right, they would learn just as the Veilthans had learned. Humanity and its allies were watching. They were ready, and they would not allow innocents to suffer while they had the power to help. The broadcast of New Busan's destruction had been meant to show the galaxy humanity's weakness. Instead, it had revealed their greatest strength. When someone tried to destroy what humans held dear, humans did not run away. They did not hide. They did not surrender. They fought back, and they won. The galaxy was a safer place because 9 million humans had died on New Busan, not because their deaths had value, but because their deaths had consequences. Those consequences would echo through the stars for generations to come. In the end, the Veilthans had been right about one thing. Humans were like animals when their families were threatened. They were like wolves, and wolves protected their pack.